Carnegie Hall is amazing, don't get me wrong, but I have had an incredible time at 1 a.m. with a full packed club of wonderful, crying, sweaty, dancing people up against the stage. You know, if you think about it, all the stuff I do when it's been in theaters, they're further away from the stage. They're very behaved. These clubs, I could stage dive if I want to. They're like so close. And there's a lot of like muscular gay men. They could actually hold me if I stage dove. So that was sort of the inspiration. I was like, I need to do music where I can get out in the clubs again.
Welcome to another Fierce Women in Music. I'm your host, Lori Majewski. My latest guest is one of the greatest voices of her generation, Idina Menzel. The reigning queen of Broadway, her breakout Tony-nominated role as Maureen in Rent led to her originating the part of Elphaba in Wicked. That earned her first Tony and a massive fan base that would follow her to the world of Disney animation. After voicing a character in Enchanted and its sequel, she landed the role of one of the most fierce Disney princesses characters of all time, Frozen's Queen Elsa. And it was in that film, in that series that made Menzel the first Tony winner to score a top 10 on Billboard's Hot 100. We all know that song, especially if you have a child. Let It Go. She sings it a lot better than me. Anyway, let's keep going. Today on Fierce, Menzel talks about her latest music project, a dance/disco record called Drama Queen. It drops in August, and it'll find her collaborating with disco legend Nile Rodgers. We also talk about her wedding singer beginnings, her deep love for her gay fans, raising a mixed-race son, and getting to play Lilith Fair back in the day. Let's get started. Here's my interview with the fierce Idina Menzel. Fierce Women in Music, the Queen of Broadway, the Golden Voice. Okay, I'm not even kidding. Every time I go to pronounce your name now, I get all freaked out by the whole John Travolta thing. I've seen you in Rent. I've seen you in everything, but when you're about to say your name, it's not just you that gets nervous. It's me.
I don't think that you're alone in that.
Really?
Yeah.
Have you heard that?
I just can feel people, the trepidation. And I think that you shouldn't worry because people always mispronounce my name before John Travolta.
Well, I'm Lori Majewski, so I get it too.
You get it, right? And the thing is, I changed my name, the spelling of my name, because it's usually, legally it was Mentzel, and everyone would just call me Idina Menzel, which sounded like menstrual or mental. So back in the day, when you did change your name a little bit more, I changed it to Menzel, thinking it would kind of sound French, but then I should have made it Menzelle, whatever. Now it's a big mess because my sister and I put out a children's book, and she kept her spelling of her name. And then I asked her, can you just change your spelling for this book? And she's like, no, that's not my name. So now it just looks like a typo when we both have our names on the children's book.
Well, it's funny because I saw you in Rent. I saw you in Wicked. And do you want to know that I didn't know you were a local girl?
You didn't?
I
With this
thought,
accent?
Well, I mean, you were acting, right?
Yeah, but
especially as Maureen.
In Rent, but she was from Hicksville, which would have been Syosset, where I'm really from, but he needed 2 syllables, he said. Instead of Syosset, he needed Hicksville, yeah.
But there's something so freaking glamorous about you that for years, I thought you were either European.
No, you didn't.
No, I'm serious.
Flattered.
Yes. Well, no,
I'm
you're
so rough around the edges. I need a stylist to tell me how to put my underwear on.
No, I mean, but no, you know that you have a very glamorous image.
Thank you.
A very glamorous image. Anyway, that kind of brings us to disco.
Okay.
And now that we know that, so we're the same age, which means we were too young to go to Studio 54.
Right.
Right. But I have friends who are older than me, just by 5-6 years, and they got to go.
Yes, the cutoff.
So how did you
happened.
get the disco bug?
Well, I've always loved it. I love that some of the singers had huge voices. You know, Donna Summer, Barbra Streisand even had a great disco era. Later, Cher had her song, her dance album, which wasn't disco, but still these big voices, you know, on
Gloria
top of
Gaynor.
Gloria Gaynor, yeah.
Evelyn Champagne King.
Exactly. And so I knew that I wanted to do really fun music where people just get up and dance, you know, but I wanted it to be music that would be a good bed foundation for big melodic voices.
Well, Cher famously brought us autotune with Believe, right? But this is your voice, very recognizable, and yet you have to sing in a brand new way. How did you discofy your voice?
I don't know. You hear that? I don't feel that way. I feel like
it's very dramatic, even though there's a song called Dramatic.
Yes.
The way you sing for the theater is much more acted and dramatic.
True.
Where this is party music.
Yes. It just, you know, I grew up singing all kinds of music because I was a wedding and bar mitzvah singer. So when I started as a teenager even, and I would lie about my age and show up in my mom's sequin dresses. And so I listened to all kinds of music, you know, jazz standards, Motown, rock and roll, then all the pop and dance music of the time, because that's how you got hired more if you had a better repertoire, you know. So that was sort of my education in music. And so I just, you know, I listened to all the big singers like a Whitney Houston or a Celine Dion, and they have these huge, very dramatic voices, theatrical. They're emotional. They hold big, long notes. It's the same thing. It's just you don't pronounce things as you don't enunciate just as much, and then you let the producer sort of surround you with this other music. But you don't have to change so much.
Enunciate. Who am I thinking of? The mini Mariah Carey that never. Oh, she never.
You can
ever enunciates.
Ariana, yeah,
totally doesn't. But I love that you pointed out that some of the disco queens have really big voices. I was just watching the Donna Summer documentary. Oh my God, she was a singer.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes when we think disco, we get so caught up in the music, which is great. But Donna Summer, one of our greatest singers of all time. I mean, Diana Ross.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I knew that it would give me the permission to just really be true to myself and sing, not have to dial myself down. There was a way to have both, have my cake and eat it too. And so I just had a blast. And, you know, speaking of Diana Ross, I called Nile Rodgers, who I had known and become friendly with throughout the years. He music directed me on a few shows. And actually my husband said, you should call Nile. And I called Nile and asked him to work with me. And he was, you know, he did I'm Coming Up, oh, and he did every other famous song you've ever heard. But yeah, so he was the one that actually said, yes, right on. This, maybe people won't expect it from you, but once they hear it, it will be a very organic transition.
I love Niall so much. I've known him since the 80s, and he is for real. And the thing about Niall is, yes, he worked with Diana, but he went through a hard time with the whole disco sucks era.
Exactly.
And he's trying to bring a good reputation back to disco. And you, I think, he probably sees you as a potential goddess/savior.
Oh, no. I think thank you. That's very sweet. But I think it's this generation that has rediscovered him and is like, just have anointed him, you know, to like royalty status and have him come on all of their albums and play. And so I think that happened with Daft Punk and like all these other cool bands, and now have him come and play. And so he's having a resurgence, a renaissance, and he deserves that. But yes, you're right. I must have been like to be on everything. And he's like a musician's musician. He orchestrates, he arranges, he plays every instrument, he hears all the harmonies. So to just be sort of relegated, or not relegated, demoted to this guy that just did disco and blah, blah, blah. And if you think about it,
Avicii, I mean, Duran Duran's my favorite band. So I see
David Bowie,
Duran and Chic all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Bowie, Madonna,
exactly. Having done a lot of the dance music and disco music for this album, you know, we forget that so much of the music right now, as good as a lot of it is, it's very linear. You know, they don't even have bridges anymore. Everything sort of plays over the same chords and the same grooves. Back in the day, you used to have like a verse, a real pre-chorus, and a chorus, a bridge. You'd even have a key change, you know, like these songs were songs. And so at first I thought, well, it's not what the kids are doing these days. And I was like, well, screw that. So we have key changes. We have big chord progressions, you know, and that's what makes it feel
choruses.
Really big choruses.
Niall always says, start with the chorus.
Yes.
That's like a big deal to him.
Yes, of course.
And a few years ago, Lady Gaga made over, I think it was I Want Your Love by Chic. And then we had Dua Lipa a few years ago did her disco record. So disco doesn't suck to the new generation.
No, not at all.
They want to dance. And you know what I was thinking as I was listening to your record? Because it made me want to get up. It really made me want to get up and dance. Like, I was like, God, you know, if they used to go to Studio 54, when I was growing up, we went to the Limelight.
Me too.
Danceteria, right? And then there were raves.
Yep.
There needs to be a resurgence of community dancing. I feel like it's been relegated to TikTok.
Of course, but especially because COVID. So everybody's been so isolated, and then TikTok really came out of COVID in a big way because we all needed to somehow connect with each other and do stuff from our homes, right? So there's a little bit of that playing into it. But I know that the other impetus for this music came from, there's been several times where, especially I've been in London for some reason, where I'm there for some other film or play or whatever, and then I go at midnight or 1 a.m. I've been to the GAY Heaven Club. And I show up and I surprise people, and I've had the most fun. I mean, Carnegie Hall is amazing, don't get me wrong, but I have had an incredible time at 1 a.m. with a full packed club of wonderful, crying, sweaty, dancing people up against the stage. You know, if you think about it, all the stuff I do when it's been in theaters, they're further away from the stage. They're very behaved. These clubs, I could stage dive if I want to. They're like so close. And there's a lot of like muscular gay men. They could actually hold me if I stage dove. So, that was sort of the inspiration. I was like, I need to do music where I can get out in the clubs again.
And it almost feels like a big sloppy wet kiss to your gay audience
sloppy
as well.
Wet kiss.
Oh, right?
Yeah, sure.
The song Beast.
Okay,
so to me, Beast, first of all, if gay or straight, it's going to make you want to dance. But it is like written for the gays. But it also kind of reminds me of, we mentioned Cher before. We mentioned Gloria Gaynor. It reminds me of I Will Survive. Like, it's that empowerment, which you're known for coming from Frozen, right? Let it go and be a princess and find your own power. That's also in there. So it's kind of like your brand, even when you come to disco.
Yeah, and it's always for me the chicken or the egg. Like, do I attract these things, or do they sort of pull me? I don't know where it's come from. There's been Wicked too, and Elphaba.
There's so many young women look up to you coming from. I mean, they're now probably up close to 30.
The kids from Rent that would write me letters, you know, sharing their real anxieties about their families or not being able to be who they wanted to be, their own sexual orientation, all of that stuff. So that has always been there. And then my own journey, I'm just, as being a woman, trying to really, you know, stand up for myself and really accept, embrace, own, like you said, my own power. The reason I call the album Drama Queen is to put a positive spin on it. It's sort of like putting a positive spin on diva. You know, I am a drama queen. First of all, I play a queen in many of the things that I've played. But I am a queen in my own mind, and I am dramatic. Whether you think of it because I'm from the stage in a lot of ways, or just because I feel everything really big and whole and passionately. And I think that's, you know, what makes me pretty cool in this life.
It is true. I'm thinking of this album. You are at a point, I think, you tell me, that you could do things just because you want to do them. And so you've already had a top 10 hit as a Tony winner, which I think you're still the only one.
I think
the first
so.
and only. So, you know, you don't have to go out there and prove yourself to anyone anymore. Do you feel like that? Because that's how
No.
I see you.
Oh, thank you. That's so nice. No, I always feel like I have to prove myself. I mean, I just got an email this morning. I have to audition for, you know, like a supporting role in a movie. So it's like there's always, every day there's something that puts you in your place, and that's okay. You know, it's humbling, and it makes me want to work harder. And to be quite honest, it would be really nice if people didn't put me in a box with this music and really allowed me to venture out and do it freely and accept it and understand that it's another side of me and it feels real and organic.
And you're definitely going to be playing a lot of Pride events.
Yes. Very excited about that. So the timing's been really good with the music coming out and the Pride events. And, you know, did I already say this in the interview? I don't remember. But all my friends in the LGBTQ plus community have really, you know, they've just taught me so much and given me so much. Taught me how to be a better human being, through their courage and their risk taking and teaching me how to be my authentic self, and by the way that they lead their lives. So I'm just so excited to be able to kind of go out there and celebrate with them and shine a light on them.
It's interesting now. We really need gay pride more than we ever have. Mm-hmm. And to think that you started in the mid 90s with Rent and during the AIDS crisis, and now we're at a place where, you know, gay marriage was accepted. No, we want to take it back.
It feels like every time there's progression, there's backlash. It's almost like with Obama being president, and then now there's all the white supremacy and racism is just sort of unearthed, you know? So I think that's what happens. Like it instills fear. You know, we get close to where we want to be, and the more, you know, we sort of we get closer, and we can see the light, and we feel like I'm saying me as an ally, but all of us, we're feeling understood. And then all of a sudden, these ridiculous laws are.
The drag queen one now that's spreading across this country, that, you know, they don't want us to have drag queens anymore, that it's bad for kids.
Yeah,
so
and taking them out of children's books that speak to gender and non-binary, you know, kids and all of this, taking them out of the schools. I mean, it's really it's just so upsetting, honestly. And so what we have to do is we just have to keep fighting. And like I like to say, I don't think it's the same thing with, I have a mixed race son. I think it's with a lot of my Black friends too. It's not their job. The onus isn't on them to change the world and educate people. It's on us, you know? So we have to get out there and fight on their behalf, and, you know, fight for policy and the education in schools and training, you know, for teachers, especially with the LGBTQ youth, and, you know, trainers, parent awareness, all of this stuff. My son went to an elementary school that handled that beautifully. And so his understanding of some of his non-binary friends actually didn't even faze him. There wasn't like an understanding, like, doesn't even think about it. It just is what it is. And that's how it should be.
I have a mixed race son, and I'm a few years behind you. He's very little, but it heartens me to hear what you're saying, because we do need allies, and we do need it to be kind of natural. And the more fuss we make over it, you can't see it, you can't do it, you can't have this, the more that it's going to confuse people, and it's also going to make them want it more. Exactly. It's so strange how I feel like this older generation is holding on to something that's going to pass away anyway. Well,
that's always been the way it is with conservatism, right? But like, it just feels, why are we spending so much time on these issues that have nothing to do with us? Like, these are other people's lives. It's like mind our own business. Same thing with Roe and everything. I mean, there's so much to fix in this world. Like, could we spend more time fixing these other things instead of trying to fix people that just, you know, aren't like us and make us, you know, we're afraid of in some way?
Really well said.
Thank you.
So I was reading up on you. You played Lilith Fair?
I did. That was a milestone in my career. Remember that?
But
Because
I don't even know. Tell me.
I was on a side stage. I did get to go up on the big stage. I remember with Natalie Merchant and was Sheryl Crow that year? I don't think she was there that year. Oh, it was Sarah McLachlan and Natalie Merchant and Emmylou Harris and a bunch of us from the side stage got to go on. But on the side stage, you get to do I had an album coming out. It was after Rent. I got a big record deal and I was promoting my very first album and I got to go to Lilith Fair and I thought I had made it.
Wow.
Yeah, nobody bought that album though.
Well, hopefully people are going to buy this one. We're going to go out by playing the entirety of your new single, which is called Move. When are you doing your indie pop record where you don't have big choruses? Don't answer that. So tell us about Move.
Move is great. What I love about Move is like the lyric is a double entendre. It's definitely, literally about getting up and moving and celebrating and dancing. But it's also the actual lyric is saying like, move for me, like move out of my way. You've been keeping me in the shadows for too long.
All right. Well, I'm so glad that we got to finally meet and that I realized you are not some European person, but a New Yorker like myself.
Oh my
even if I am from
Give me a
Jersey.
couple of drinks and it really comes out.
Same. Well, come back and visit us.
Thank you
we
for having me.
We adore you.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Well, there you have it. My interview with the fierce Idina Menzel. I adore her. I feel like we've known each other forever. Maybe it's the two girls from the New York area thing. I don't know. Also, when the interview was over and I walked her out, Idina took me aside and she gave me some unsolicited advice. She said, from one mom of a mixed race child to another, she said, you have no idea how much you don't know. So educate yourself. Read as much as you can. And that's really stayed with me. Thank you so much, Idina.